大家好 I'm Bala from Bala's Simple Chinese School. If you are a beginner, intermediate, advanced, looking for HSK study, business Chinese, or simply want to improve your everyday communication, I'm the teacher for you. Come and join me for a free travel class at Bala's Simple Chinese School.
Hello everyone, Craig here. Welcome to another edition of the podcast, Tell Craig Your Story. Today we'll be speaking to Dr Maskay. Now, Dr Maskay was born in Nepal, but he now resides in Shanghai, China. Now, Dr Maskay first donated blood at the age of 18 and since has been an avid supporter for blood donation campaigns. He has assisted Shanghai Blood Center with several blood drives and education campaigns and heads a team of expat volunteers and donors. Dr Maskay is the founder of Bloodline. He is a surgeon at the Shanghai United Family Hospital. Now, I met Dr Maskay at the Halloween drive. Now, he's also won 3 awards for the Bloodline non-profit organization, and he really does have an inspiring story to tell. But before we go, please go to our website. We are at Podbean. Tell Craig Your Story at podbean.com. We have a link tree there which tells you where Tell Craig Your Story podcast is streaming. We are on all the major streaming services. Also, make sure you're checking out our YouTube channel at Tell Craig Your Story. We have VK for our Russian listeners and WeChat for our Chinese listeners. All right, here we go. This is my chat with Dr. Maskay on Tell Craig Your Story podcast. Hi, Dr. Maskay. How are you doing today?
Hey, good evening. Good evening. Thanks, Craig, for having me.
Not a worries. Thank you very much for your time. I know you're an extremely busy man, so just a little bit of a background. I heard about the Bloodline last year. I got to meet you, and I donated some blood a couple of months ago, and I was just blown away by the whole setup of your Bloodline. I mean, it's not just going in there and donating blood. There's music, there's art, there's all stalls there. You can buy paintings and
Carnival,
really, yeah, like carnival, yeah. So first off, just tell us a little bit about the Bloodline and maybe talk about the year in review for 2023 so far.
2011 November, I was in China, and then of course I'd already been in Shanghai at the time. I walked out of my operating room, and I was just walking down the hallway in the old building of this hospital, and I saw this poster for a blood donation happening that day, right? So I walked in and I sort of like gave my blood, and pretty soon I realized there were a lot of people who were taking my interview, and at that time I didn't really understand why. But then I came to realize later that I was the first one donating blood that day. And after my blood donation, then the people from the Shanghai Blood Center reached out to me and said, would you like to volunteer in our activities? And I said, like, yeah, why not? I would really love to do this. Now, going back, I gave my first blood donation when I was 18 years old. And that was very meaningful for me. At least I actually came back on my bike without telling my mom. And then she found my blood donation card under my bed, tucked away and hidden after many months. And she confronted me and said, did you donate blood? And I was like, I very, sort of awkwardly told her yes. She's like, so why didn't you tell me? So
Yeah.
So it was good. And then later down the road, we were working back home in Nepal in a children's hospital, and that's where And then the next time was I was as an intern working in pediatric surgery, and then at that time, back in that country, people actually, families had to replace blood for their family members. So we were operating on a little child, and then he needed blood, and then we called the father, who was underweight, very poor, very small, and then so we were. So I then descrubbed, and I volunteered to go down and donate blood. And the feeling I had from that blood donation was so immense and so powerful. So of course, I was donating blood regularly back home. But after coming to China, that was the first time I actually got to donate blood in that event. And then I started working with Shanghai Blood Center, and very soon realized that there is sort of like a little hesitancy among the local culture here to actually donate blood freely, because I think it's partly to do with the culture, partly to do with the yin and the yang, and the heat and the cold in the body.
Is it because they don't understand the reasons why, or do they think they're scared of doing it, or?
Yes, I think it's partly they're scared of doing it. Yeah, so I think it's partly that culture of the being afraid to give blood, partly because of the way they're brought up with the heat and the TCM philosophy per se. So then I realized the need for creating Bloodline, and then of course we were already working with Shanghai Blood Center there. Then as volunteers, then we said we can make it much better, So that's when I had scribbled down a few ideas in my head down on a piece of paper. Started looking out for a few friends or people I sort of knew through contacts that were sort of doing the same thing, and just uniting people together, and then into the cause. The breaking moment was a French girl that was visiting Shanghai, visiting her boyfriend, and they were on a scooter, and she had a road traffic accident. So she went to a local hospital. I think they missed the diagnosis, and at that time I was still in general surgery. And then, so she came to our hospital, and it appeared she was bleeding from the liver. So there was an internal bleed, and she was losing blood, and she was O negative, right? Now you have to understand here, the negative blood types are pretty rare all over the world.
Yes.
But in China, it's extremely rare. So it's in every 3 in 1,000 people, 3 to 4 in 1,000 people will have negative type bloods. So she was O negative, and getting that blood would be pretty difficult. So I had sent out a little call on my WeChat to people and friends that were sort of involved in the same cause, saying, we'll need some blood. Can you please respond to this call, right? During the surgery, my phone kept on ringing and ringing and ringing, to a point there were over 80 calls. I had to assign a nursing staff to just take the calls, and, well, Dr. Maskay will call you back. Dr. Maskay will call you back. And so that gave me a sort of like, and it was an eye-opener per se, because it gave me this thought that there are actually people who are really willing to help each other, complete strangers, right? So when it comes to these emergencies and the need, and when you're talking about life, I mean, people are very willing to give, right? Yeah. So I thought, this is the answer, this is the calling. We have to put a group together, and we call it. So then came the idea of brainstorming and looking for a logo, and talking with the local Shanghai Blood Center, and trying to put it in force. And then I remember the first event we ever had, and the one you attended, the Halloween. The first event we had, which was over 5 years ago, had around 25 to 30 people.
Right.
That's it. And then out of those 25, 30 people, we were in a small corner of Shanghai Blood Center.
Right.
and, and then over time, we have just grown, and that's what makes us so happy and proud, So going back to the introduction of Bloodline, we focus on primarily 3 things. Okay. So number 1 is this big-sized blood donation camps. So basically, it's these campaigns, which one of those you attended, right? So yes. We try to change this very stereotype blood donation program where you come and donate blood, you get a little certificate, and you give you a little bow and you leave. We wanted to change that into something that was very trendy and happening, and trying to change the young mindsets at the same time.
Yes.
So that's when we came up with the idea of cosplay and making it like a little party and face
Yes.
painting. And we actually wanted children to come along and sit on their dad or mom's lap and absorb the idea of their parents being superheroes, right? Saving a life.
Yes.
So that from a very young mindset, that sort of, changes their mindset into thinking of this as a very normal thing to do as a community give back action, right?
Yes.
So I think as the last 5-6 years, it has the size has just grown of these events, So we have now the complete support of the Shanghai government, the diplomatic
Right.
mission, and a whole lot of over 150 partners, all willing to give, The one thing that makes Bloodline different from the rest of the charities is we do not accept money, cash. So we accept everything else, especially blood, right?
Yes.
So that was the first thing, blood donation campaigns. The second thing, which people don't know a lot about, is direct appeals or emergencies. So anyone in these 14, 15 cities, we have a presence in China.
Yes.
If there is a need for blood, then they can reach out to us, and we have a process where we verify the need, and then we send out donors, and then the donors are actually giving back to the community, to the city, and that blood replicates into sort of like the person in need getting the blood. So we've saved a lot of lives and lost a few that way too, And the last, but the most important, I personally feel, is this public awareness. Our vision is for public awareness. So that's where we have started combining with a lot of these companies, especially young consumer market, providers, and having them also sort of like, involving them to create a very positive outlook, a very positive, And the thing is, I see over the last 5 to 10 years, things are changing. It's looking really good because I now see this younger population in Shanghai, young college kids and people who started just working, and usually around 18 to 30 years. That population age group are now very willing to come out and donate blood, and I think it's finally striking in. So and everything is about being very trendy. Blood.
Yes.
That is one of our aims, and giving blood is almost, we want to make it like a very trendy thing to do. I'm
Yes.
wearing this branded
True.
shoe. I'm going out to and doing this particular yoga in a gym, and I'm donating. I'm a blood donor. I'm a hero.
Yes.
So that's the sort of message we want to get across to the community, and I feel we're really achieving our goals.
Like it's really cool, a cool thing to do. How are the Chinese people now taking to it? Like you said before, they're a little shy to do it. What's happening now in 2023?
So I'll give you an example of this to show my point, right? My ai has been with us for a number of years now. I don't even call her my ai. I call her Mei Mei, right? My younger sister. So
Right.
that's how close she is, So she has seen me every month. I do a lot of platelet donations. I do whole blood donations. And then she knows exactly what I eat so that I don't fail my exams before the blood donation. She's seen me many times. And initially for her, it was like, you're giving too much. And then it was like, you're not worried about your health. You got to look after your family too, and this and that. And then, so she saw that happening many times. Then she started attending our events and just seeing people donate. And she was like, wow, okay. And on the event, I think the last November 19 event, she came to me and she said, I'm ready. I want to do it.
Wow.
I was like, really? And she's like, yes, let's do it. So she sat there and then she donated her blood. And of course, I could see that she was slightly anxious and worried and so on. But then after the donation, she was like, I'm going to do it over and over again. This is really nice. I feel good, So that was a defining moment for me because that was a very stereotyped mindset, which over time, and she's now all for blood donations, So I was pretty impressed. And now I see a lot of my colleagues come over to our programs, and also, in the past they would say like, no, I'm anemic, or I've had this, or I've got a cold, but now they're like really open up and they're starting to give blood too. So in that sense, I think there is a very positive change in the community, and I'm very happy about that. I mean, also the slight change now is you cannot really donate to a person, right? You can donate to the community. And it's the responsibility of the community or to give back to people in need. So that's also that change in policy is also making a very good impact.
And definitely you're making an impact. And I saw one of your last posts on WeChat where you actually started winning some awards for the Bloodline as well. So congratulations, that's amazing
Thanks
achievement.
so much. Yeah.
So what does that mean to you to get some recognition for something that you're doing?
Yeah. So the first time I got the award was in 2019.
Yes.
So it was like the top 10 social service stories of Shanghai, and
Yes.
just to be nominated, we were like, hey, we're just a bunch of friends. And
Yeah.
we're just doing this purely for helping out the community, right? We have no desires, no desires for personal gain. And it's just, we're doing it purely because, and people ask me, what do you get from doing Bloodline? How much do you earn? I'm like, zero money.
Yeah.
And then, but then why you do it? It's like, because it feels good. And then, but there must be a reason in that. Well, it's food for soul, right?
Yes.
So, and once I got that award, I was like surprised. But then the next award really caught me by surprise because it was the Shanghai Magnolia Silver Award. And it did not sink into the extent of that award until I was sitting there with the audience before we went up on stage, listening to all these other people, and I realized, oh my God, all these other people are big shots. These are big CEOs of big companies, and these are all financial companies, and we're just a bunch of friends.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
So that was quite shocking, and of course pleasantly shocking.
Yes.
And then came to the next award with being involved with several government, international and international, like foreigners forums, trying to sort of exchange ideas for the
Yes.
development of Shanghai.
Yes.
And then finally, this time there was the Shanghai Magnolia Gold, and also I was chosen to give that speech on behalf of the awardees. So it was quite something. So one thing for me that caught me by surprise, and I'm very happy and surprised still, is how the Shanghai government was able to, actually visualize these little actions of, it's not like an organized big NGO, right?
Yes.
There's a bunch of friends who are making an impact in the society. How they're able to see this thing happening in the community and actually award these people, So that for me was quite something. And I'm very happy to say with the support of the Shanghai government, the diplomatic mission in Shanghai, and a lot of other big companies, companies like Playmobil, Disney, Cirque du Soleil, and so on. So I mean, it's all looking good. I mean, there's only one way forward. That's it's making a positive impact.
Yes. And
More positive impact. Yeah.
And can a person come in anytime, or is it the weekends like we had it before?
Well, we do those big events, right?
Right.
But at any point, 365 days a year, working time, all those mobile units or other stationary units, anyone can go in there, and we've set up a system, a green channel, where you just go in and say, hey, I'm Bloodline, right? And then you would go into any of those mobile units or stationary units, donate your blood, and we would have known right away, because they'll send a picture back.
Yes.
Of the bloodliners, we call them bloodliners, giving blood, and that put a little play card. Now, one thing also which we strongly believe in is we have a bunch of partners, right? And everyone involved in Bloodline or the mission of Bloodline, we add them into a group, a representative of each of these companies into a group, and we call it our advisory board.
Yes.
So we listen to all these people, to what they have to say, for us to make our, judgments as to how we should work in the future.
Yes.
And so our belief is Bloodline is not just a bunch of core members here who are doing this stuff. It's us, you, me, the companies that are involved with, the supporters, the blood donors,
Yes.
So this community is Bloodline. That's what we strongly believe in, and also in our core members, we have people from Singapore, Italy, Holland, India.
Wow.
I mean, name it. Chinese locals, Shanghainese. We have from Toga. So there's everywhere. There's a good representation, and we want to keep it that way.
Do you have one in Australia?
We had an Australian French guy,
Right.
who unfortunately had to repatriate back.
Oh,
Very,
okay.
very, very active guy he was, like the rest of the Aussies.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing
So,
I didn't like about him is he loved Vegemite. So
oh yeah. Oh,
yeah.
come on. That's a true Aussie if you're eating Vegemite. So I just want to go back a little bit back into your family. So you grew up. You're from Nepal,
Yeah.
Kathmandu. You grew up with doctors as parents. Is that correct?
Yes.
So I can see that sort of similarities because there was a quote from you in paraphrasing, but it said that my father used, if there was a person that couldn't afford the medicine, then he would just say, okay, I'll do it for free. I'll give you the medicine. Just get better. And I can see like a trend with you, like now with the bloodline as well. So mother and father, how did they inspire you to do this?
So yeah, my dad was a chest physician, right? And as a younger kid, like 5 years, 6 years, even younger, I used to just sort of follow him to his chamber, his clinic.
Yes.
And I look back and I think that was so stupid because he was a tuberculosis specialist.
Right.
But then, yeah, so he would, I would see him charge some patients, but at the same time, I would see him completely, not charge his patients. Not only that, but he would go down to the pharmacy, buy medications, come. So I asked him what made him decide I'm going to charge this patient, but I would not charge this patient. So he told me it was very simple, like when he was stripping off the patients to examine them, just by the condition of their undergarments, if it's torn or a little held together by a safety pin, or so he would just say, okay, this patient needs free medicine. And growing up in back home in Nepal, I went to a boarding school. I went to a missionary school, actually, a Jesuit school, and it was mostly American teachers. So they also taught us the value of social service. So as kids, we used to be, it was a boarding school, all boys school, right? So we'd be distributed in little groups of 5 students and be sent out to different villages, villagers, and then we would just do whatever they wanted, including sort of like, harvesting the fields or, cleaning the cow sheds or et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
And growing up, then we started, again, working in one of the poorest, Children's Hospital for Poor People, where we would, do a blood drive, we would do medicine drive, we would do cash drives for these patients who could not afford it. And then as an intern, we also had this way as doing also my house job in a hospital there. We would we had a system where we would collect from the rich and save it for the poor.
Right.
So we would so we would sort of like those little leftovers and stuff that the rich could easily afford, we would sort of take them, keep it in a little closet somewhere, and when there was a patient that really had nothing, we'd use it for this patient. So those values sort of already was ingrained, like growing up. And so the parents and then the school, everything was. So to me, social service, at least for me and my wife, my family, and I try to teach the same to my daughter, social service should be a part of everyday life.
Great.
I mean, the world is big, but it's so small.
Yeah.
And it's far beyond the confines of your own family and the house you want and this car you want, right? I mean, we are born, I seriously feel, for a greater good beyond just the confines of your life.
Yes.
So that's where it comes from. I mean, you have to understand all the core members in Bloodline are all people who are working. They have their own jobs. They are fabric designers or a diamond seller or working on e-commerce and so on. So they have their jobs.
Right.
It's only in the evenings that they come together and they're like, hey, let's do something.
Yeah.
But
Right.
everything is like for free service. But then I'm really proud of the core team too. They've given enough of their energy and time.
Yeah, absolutely. A quick question: why China? Was it a good opportunity to come here, or why didn't you stay in Nepal?
it was sort of like a good opportunity, I would say. I was in UK for a while, and then
Okay.
I was in Bangladesh for a while, and then I was in Nepal at that time in the middle of the civil war we had at that time.
Mm.
And there was an opening for a postgraduate degree studies. And just without paying much attention to it, I applied and found myself on the short list, and then on another short list, and then on another short list, and finally into the selection list. And I was like, oh my God. So I didn't even think about this. Should I not? So there was a moment where I really had to sit down and think, should I go to China? And I have no idea. So I decided to give it a go.
Yes.
And the first year, I have to say, was difficult. This was 19 years ago.
Right.
19 years ago, right?
Isn't Shanghai like the Wild West? Isn't what everybody calls it like back then? Like the
Yeah,
Wild
it was. I still remember us coming down, and I had a friend, and we were walking down the Baoshan district, and there was a bunch of like around 20 kids after us, going like, oh, Lawai, Lawai, Lawai. It's like, yeah. And then the first year, we were basically using sign language to
Yeah, right.
communicate. It's like,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and
Yes.
and fork. And I remember trying to go buy some chicken, and we sort of forgot how to say, chicken in
Yeah.
Chinese.
Yeah.
So my friend was like, he points to a chicken egg and goes, "Tada mama, I want the mom," And you have to remember at this time there were no phones with translations, and it was like this small Nokia phone if you were lucky, and the little red Chinese book with the dictionary that you carried in your pocket, So yeah, things have really changed, and I'm very happy to be a part of the growth of this city.
Yes, absolutely. Wanted to ask one thing about donating blood. I mean, sure, there's particular types of blood that are very common, but what bloods, like you said, O blood before was a rare type. What sort of bloods are you sort of looking for, like in particular, that need more?
Right now,
Yes.
if you have blood, we need you.
Okay. Right.
Not even tomorrow. Now,
Mm.
So that's the urgency of blood. So roughly, Shanghai needs around 1,500 units of blood per day, right?
Wow.
There are days you get a few hundreds, and there's days you get probably between 100 to 200, right? So out of 1,000 people in Shanghai, usually, roughly around 10 to 15 people donate blood regularly. So the difference is huge, right? So, and especially you have to understand during every Chinese New Year, there's a shortage of blood because a lot of people are traveling and the donors are not there. And especially with the epidemic situation, that became even worse.
Yes.
And now, one of the events we do, and mind you, our next event is May 20, coming up, and it's for children with cancer and blood disorders. My heart goes out to these children. Sometimes I go to these hospitals and I see these children there, and their families really in need of blood, I remember during the lockdown, I was willing to go out and donate blood in the lockdown because there was one kid who really needed it. And then I had donated on the last day before the lockdown, and I donated the first day the lockdown ended, right? But yeah, the need is very, very real, and it's not even a joke. So this mission that we have started, for us, it's almost personal. It's like when you have this person in need of blood, and for expats, we've saved quite a few expats and locals.
Yes.
And last year, for instance, there was this Indian boy, like a 4-year-old. He doesn't have any. It's not his fault, 3 or 4 year, right? And he's with a plastic anemia, need for blood, constantly, and you almost feel this personal binding with this person in need, and then you almost take it like a personal mission. I will do whatever it takes.
Yes.
And as Bloodline, we'll do whatever it takes to make sure that this patient goes through it, And I'm sure there's a lot more families out there that do not know Bloodline, or we do not know them, that's in need of blood. So it's something you can do very easily. It's just a few minutes of your time. You roll up your sleeves, you give blood, and you've actually created a dream, continuity of a dream for a family. So why not?
Saving lives, that's you could be saving lives. So Wanted to also, besides doing this and besides being a surgeon, that you also have a family workshop, sporting activities. Tell us a little bit about this. Where do
So
you fit the time?
very frankly, I sleep very little. I don't, just to let you know, the Bloodline WeChat pages, the
Yes,
designs, those little souvenirs that we give out to donors every time they come and donate blood,
I've
I
got
designed this
I've
all
got my
myself.
I got my frisbee in my backpack and
So I designed this myself,
right.
you know. So I sleep very little. I think the energy keeps me driving. But then I work as a surgeon in United Family Hospital, right? And sports medicine, orthopedics, and
Yes.
the hospital also in terms of community give back, we do some events for families and just to get them in touch, in sync. It doesn't always have to be about being sick and coming to a hospital. It's also about wellness. So as a part of that program, I also go out and help a lot, like little tennis tournaments in SRC or
Hmm.
Shanghai American School, or for instance, like the last weekend with this family activities for little kids, on
So
sporting
cool.
activities. So I had little talks about sports and well-being. Yeah, most of the physicians here, we like to be involved with the community involvement in these activities.
Hmm. Absolutely. Social medias,
Yeah.
Dr. Maskay. Where can we find you, and how do we get involved with donating blood in Shanghai?
Okay. So my WeChat is available to everyone. Anyone
Okay.
that needs it, it's very simple. SURGEON all in one word, like AM for my initials, right? So Surgeon AM, all in a word. Anytime there's a need for blood, right, or your need to donate blood, right,
Yes.
reach out, and then we'd be happy to, involve you in our activities, in the blood donations, and so on. I mean, you are never going to be told to, just go on your own way. If there's something you can give back to the community, either in terms of your time or blood or your involvement or just public awareness, you're always welcome with Bloodline. In fact, for schools also, we do a lot of children that come and volunteer, and we give them official social service credit hours. And we really encourage that, because we want these children to grow up with a mindset that this is the right thing to do. I mean, we've had
Yes.
students from STIS come in and donate blood on the day they turned 18.
Is there an age limit?
18, start from
18.
18,
Right.
right?
Right.
And we organized a 18th birthday cake, and so he donates blood, and then we cut this cake, and then with his friends. So we want to make it a special
So
moment
cool.
for these kids. So yeah, I mean, welcome anytime. And then my Bloodline core members are there too. And then would be very happy to welcome any of you into voluntary activities. So we also work with a lot of other charities. So any sort of, doesn't necessarily have to be blood donation. You may say, hey, I'm past that age, or I can't donate blood for whatever reason. There's many ways you can be involved through Bloodline with helping the community.
Last question. Who is your greatest inspiration / hero, and why?
I've already told you about my dad, right? I think I took a lot of this thing going forward from my dad. But another guy who has inspired me a lot is, do you know a character by the name of Norman Bethune?
No.
He was a Canadian, right? And he was really during the Civil War and in Spain, and then finally he came to China. He was a big forefront, a leader in terms of blood donations. So he helped a lot of people in all these countries, and finally in China with pioneering and establishing blood donations. At that time, that was pretty right.
Wow.
So the Spanish Civil War, you can imagine. So Norman
Yeah,
Bethune, look him up. He's quite something, quite a character.
I definitely will.
So,
Dr. Maskay, thank you very much for your time. You're a true inspiration to many people, and I really love that you're helping people out and having it as a charity. I just feel that's just fantastic, and keep doing what you're doing and saving lives and making people happy. And I'm more than happy to promote your donation of blood anytime.
yeah, and thank you so much. And the little secret for Bloodline is we derive our energy and our passion from people like you and the community around us. So keep on sending all these positive vibes and these energies and then that encouragement to keep on going, And we promise you we will be there.
Absolutely. All right,
Okay.
Dr. Maskay, thank you very much for your time.
Okay.
All the best.
Okay. Bye-bye, Craig.
Hi, I'm Nigel the Shanghai Psychic. I can tune into your loved ones in the spirit world, but I can also tune into you, tell you about your path and the choices that you need to make and need to know. I'm currently giving 30% discount on all Tell Craig Your Story listeners. Just use the code Tell Craig Your Story for 30% off your first psychic reading with me online at Nigel the Shanghai Psychic.